In the last video, I pointed out where everything is happening. It's happening right here in consciousness. And I hope you managed to see that. We make all sorts of excuses for not acknowledging that. We make all sorts of excuses for not acknowledging that everything happens in consciousness. What, you mean it's all happening in my little old consciousness? My boring old consciousness? The whole universe arises and fades and falls away within my consciousness, my little old consciousness? Surely not. I'm not so important. I'm just little old me. Well, these are the stories we feed ourselves. Or it might be even more dangerous though if we actually believe this. Oh, it's in my consciousness. I always suspected I was special. And we can build ourselves a nice fantasy around these words. But we have to see it ourselves, and we have to see the illusion or the notional nature of our own ego. Our consciousness has actually got nothing to do with us. We arise within consciousness, and that consciousness identifies with what arises within it. And what arises within it are notions, and it gives these notions reality. But this consciousness can also stop identifying with these notions, stop imbuing its identification with reality, and come back to itself, realize its own nature once again. This is known as the supreme state in which no desire arises. Desire is the mechanism which keeps the fire of our dissatisfaction going. Desire is based on hope. The hope that there's something real out there which is going to provide us with ultimate satisfaction. It's desire that creates reality. Fetishistic desire is a great example of this. It's a rather stark example. Sexual fetishistic desire, for example. People ascribe sexual appeal to latex, for example, or to feet. If you're not caught up in that particular fetish, then it seems comical, doesn't it? It seems foolish and bizarre. We might just shrug our shoulders, everyone to their own kind of thing. But if you are caught up in that desire, perhaps it's quite thrilling. Clothing made of latex. Well, actually, I better not go there, because the more you think about it, the more you consider it, the more you get hypnotized into the reality of it, reality in inverted commas. What you're actually doing by contemplating it is imbuing it with interest, imbuing it with a thrilling quality. And if you've browsed the internet at all, you'll see this comes in a wide variety. People can get fetishistic desire for muddy shoes, soiled underwear, and the list goes on. And it's comical, it's funny. What's the reality of it though? The reality is one that's been created by people prone to this kind of desire. Perhaps they can make it work for them. But if you're not into that desire, then it does seem quite limiting somehow. I don't think anybody ever feels envious of such people. Oh, this person's got a fetish for feet. I wish I had a fetish for feet. Do we ever think this? You only think that way if you're prone to developing such a fetish. And the whole point of this is that this is the nature of desire generally. It's not just a weird fetish pursued by a minority of people. We all have our fetish. Perhaps not sexual fetish. Some people have a fetish for money. for wealth. In the news recently, there was an inquest into this businessman who killed his family. He killed his family animals and burnt his mansion to the ground, along with himself, because he was bankrupt. He could not see life. He had this intense fetish for wealth. He could not see happiness independent of lifestyle. His lifestyle was everything. And he gave his family no option. He shot his daughter and wife in the back of the head. We might say he was mentally disturbed, but I suspect it's not that much further from where most people are. He was an extreme case, obviously. It's quite a tragic case. He couldn't live without his fetish for a particular lifestyle, and he took other people down with him, and the animals as well. So we all have our fetishes. We all have our desire, and that creates our reality for us. And it's clearly a limited reality. If you're not caught up in that fetish, you see the limitation of it from the outside. It's in this sense which we go beyond desire. We need to acknowledge our fetishes. We need to see the limiting nature of them. But we also need to have touched our own essential consciousness and realize the qualities and the bigness of it. And if we can do that, and then see how puny our desires are, then we can gradually become free of our desires.